This is Matt and
Jesse
from Dice Around Table. Thanks for checking out this video. Please like it if you find it helpful. Subscribe to the channel so you know when we have other things coming out. And as you can tell, this year has been quite an active year on the channel. If you're new to the channel, check us out. We have playthroughs, games, unboxings, a whole slew of things. Today is what?
Trudvang.
So I did back to Kickstarter. We did get everything.
Yep.
And this is the only thing that's been shipped. It's the only thing you can find. There are other expansions coming. This is about the base game as is, March 2023. So overall, the game itself is a narrative-driven adventure game, 1 to 4 players, and you'll have it's 6 characters.
Yes.
Yeah, 6 characters are in the box. You get a massive storybook. There is a massive amount of tokens because we ended up getting our own organizer and keep the tokens in there separately. Comes with 2 boards. One's a map board and lots and lots and lots and lots of cards.
And enemies.
And yeah, you do get some miniatures for enemies. So I'm not going to do an unboxing on this. There's other ones out there. Just our perspective on it. But it is heavily narrative based, where you literally, it's narrative driven, almost like a choose your own adventure book.
Yes, because there are different endings.
Yes. Components. Start with components. This box was packed.
Yeah, it was packed. There's a lot of punching.
So lots of punching, lots of tokens, lots of cards. And again, not everything's in this box because, like we said, we have a separate organizer for that. So you do get a lot for your money.
The miniatures are well done.
Well, and they're CMON. They're CMON standard miniatures,
I like the miniatures.
Hard plastic, board game quality miniatures. Single piece, no cleanup needed, no nothing. So that's awesome. Gameplay rulebook and learning how to play. The book is overcomplicated to me.
Yeah.
They did a good job giving some examples. However, it's very piecemeal.
And once you're in the game and you reference it again, sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't.
Like one of the things for combat was if you have 4 miniatures in the same spot as you and you're flipping a card, like one time we were playing, we're like, this is like 20 points of damage.
Yeah.
We're like wiped out. But no, it should be a card flip for each miniature. So it could vary drastically on what the combat interaction would be. So, but yeah, the rule book is very haphazard in some ways. It doesn't flow very well.
No, it doesn't.
Definitely read through it probably twice before you play. And one of those times you're going to probably have the board set up.
Yep, so you can follow along.
And maybe do like 5 or 10 turns in the opening scenario. Get a feeling for it and then reset it. So you can play for real.
I think we did that.
Yes, we did.
We did that. Yep.
So the rule book is not one of the best I've ever read.
No.
And we've done adventure games. Shadows of Brimstone, Descent, Imperial Assault. Like, this is my first CMON adventure game. So we never did Zombicide.
Nope, we never did.
So like for a CMON adventure game, maybe that rulebook's standard, but for what we've played, it is not one of the best rulebooks. So we talked about components, we talked about the rulebooks. Gameplay. Where do you want to start?
I'm not sure. I guess let's start with the movement.
There's movement on the boards for your land movement.
Mm-hmm.
There's combat, and then there's the story elements. So let's break it down to those 3.
Okay.
The board land movement is basic. It's so simple.
And traveling is so simple.
Because you're moving one square. I think the biggest decision we had to do for the map movement was, do we split the party?
Yep.
And otherwise, if there's baddies there, you're fighting. No baddies, then you're drawing a travel card. And if there's a point of interest, you're doing an investigate. It's very stripped down where 1, 2, 3. It's the board movement is very simplified.
It is.
Combat. It is drawing tokens out of a bag for the players.
For the players. That's... I'm going to say fiddly.
It can be.
It can be.
One of the things is, so it's a small bag. You're putting tokens in there, and the tokens are really small, but they have to be. The first point that I'm very mixed on is you get 4 of your 8 abilities. And you have the ability of getting 2 of the same, because there's 2 abilities in this deck. There's 3 that are the same.
I thought it was 2.
No, because like my fighting dwarf had a shield block, a attack, and something else he could do, and there was 2 of each of those.
Okay.
So maybe your character had 2 that were the same. So there's at least 2, if not 3. So that's 6 out of the 8 cards that are the same. And then there's 2 one-off cards. So you're going to draw these 4 cards out, and that's what your abilities are. The issue I had was there was more than one instance. As the fighter, I didn't have a fight card. And then the following combat, I had 2 fight cards. And you can only trigger the ability is if you pull the right tokens out of the bag. But if you pull and push your luck, it's like a push your luck element, because
yes.
You can keep like fatiguing yourself by how much effort you put into it. So you can pull too many tokens and get there, and then you can hurt yourself, or you get misses.
Or nothing happens. You get like all 3, but it's so...
Or you can get a benefit.
Or you can get a benefit.
So there can be a benefit, like you're conserving your energy, so you get a benefit. You're pushing it right to the limit and you get nothing. Or you're pushing yourself too far and you hurt yourself. You literally hurt yourself. Which I still don't like that concept. You're telling me I hurt myself. I literally cut myself while fighting. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like this exertion. Like your health isn't just your health. It's your stamina almost.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a blend of stamina and health. But then you're pulling out the tokens and you're trying to see what you want to activate, because you can only pull 3 tokens out at a time. So you gotta okay, so there's a little push your luck element to it. And my bad thing is I might not get the abilities I always want. Any other adventure game we've played, we know what we can do.
Yep.
We always know what we can do.
Because it's your ability. You have it.
Even the D&D games from, they're so old now, but you knew what you could do.
Yep.
And you had a once per game ability. Here there is no once per game ability. You have these 8 cards, and that's all you can do besides your gear.
And if you push your luck and you don't get it, you might not even get to use all of the abilities that you have sitting in front of you.
Yeah. So anything else about combat you want to throw in?
The enemy cards that you flip over, that's not too bad.
No, it's very Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
That's Gloomhaven.
The cards that you flip over, that's okay. That's not so bad.
Which can trigger special things for the bad guys or
make you
other
shuffle
things.
the dock deck or
And you could, and again, you might pull an ability that lets you trigger before the bad guys.
Yes.
But the bad guys always go before you, unless you have one of those fast or skilled. That, again, you don't always be able to do that. But you need to, because you had the one person that you could see what that card was, and we could skip it. We could ignore it. Which some of those things were really... What the enemies could do was well, if it randomly happens, you're going to be in a world of a hurt.
Oh, I didn't like the blocking thing. That annoyed me because sometimes you had it, sometimes you didn't.
Yeah, so at least the fighter has a lot of it where it's a shield bash where you can negate damage and then do damage back by bashing it.
It had some dodges, but it didn't always happen. Yeah, it was very hit or miss.
So like, if we can block damage, let us block damage every turn.
Yes.
So it's... The combat, though, is the game.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you will spend half your game
in combat.
In the combat phase.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're just moving on the board. It's the combat where everything is. So we'll talk about that, I think, in the next piece. So the combat is like over half your time in this game. You're going to be constantly just pulling stuff out of this bag and doing it. And if you're someone who plays multiple characters, so if there's like 2 of you and you're each playing 2 characters, we've done that and we still messed up every so often by putting the wrong character tokens in the wrong bag.
Yes.
Like, it's just so much going on there that even we slipped up.
Yes.
Even when we thought we did it right, we're like, let's just make sure. And we're pulling tokens out of the bag and recounting them and like, okay, oh no, this one's got 1 too many. No, this one's got 1 too few, but this one's perfect. So, and sometimes the tokens get stuck in the corners.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah. So, the story element. Massive book, has entries. So, you read the book.
I did read all the entries.
And she kind of had me do the choices.
Yes.
Because since she was reading the book, she kind of saw what was going to happen because it's right there. It's
not really.
Well, sometimes your face would give it away. Like, you would read it, and because the results were, like, right underneath.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I don't think they did a very good job. Like, they should have... Just knowing how you read, how people read... You know you need probably this much space of blank before you have the next section.
Yeah.
And they didn't. It was very compressed. Sometimes there was a line, and it was just the next entry.
Yep. So
for anyone just reading, you're already there. Especially if you're a reader, which there's a good chance that you're going to be a reader when you're doing this, or you're in charge of the book. And so, as a fluent reader, we're always reading ahead very fast and not always taking those cues. So that big empty space would have been perfect design choice, which they missed, in my opinion. So, okay, so that's the book.
The book was also not well organized, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, because sometimes we were in the beginning of the adventure and you're flipping to the back of the adventure.
Yes.
To find it, and then back and forth.
It was so much back and forth.
The other thing I didn't like was she would start reading and give me a choice, and then we would go and read the next section, and then it wouldn't give you a choice. It just told you, go read another section. So then you're jumping from 1 page, going back 2 pages, going forward 4 pages, and then she went back twice before we had another choice.
Yep.
Why did we have to flip? Take all that, put it together, and read it as one chunk. Like, there was no choice to be made. And my biggest pet peeve with the story element was, because how much story there is, more people needed to proofread. We played a mission requiring us to cross water. And it specifically says, when you need to cross water, you will find a boat. And you can only travel by boat. The adventure had no mention of a boat anywhere. Nothing.
Nope.
But magically, we had to go 5 spaces out to the edge of the board to cross where there was no boat, and we just said, forget it, we have a boat. And yet there was these monsters we were fighting that they didn't travel the same pace because we didn't see them again, but somehow they beat us to the island. They were already there. So we had to go this way, they went this way. Where was their boat? Was there a boat that I didn't see?
No.
Like, small pet peeve, but if you're going to have this narrative, make sure you have everything you need in the story.
And give clear instructions. Sometimes it would just say, sleeve this card. Sleeve it where? And we'd like...
Because there's two different places. You got the main board, and then you have... I don't even know what the board's called, but I call it the storyboard.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because you'll find... And this is where the Choose Your Adventure goes in. Says sometimes your choices lead to other missions you can do. So let's talk about setup.
Okay.
You were setting it up.
I was setting it up. And it took a while to set it up. Because you have to get out all the cards, all the item cards. You have to get out all the decks, all the bags of tokens. I had to make sure there was a board just for locations. And I had to make sure the right location was sleeved. And so, yeah, there was a lot going into setting it up. It wasn't a 1-2 quick setup.
We'll have another video discussion about apps and board games, which a couple years ago was the heavy, hot topic, especially when Mansions of Madness first came out, the second edition. And we've said we're going to have another discussion, so we're not going to save all that for that video, except for to say this should have been an app.
Absolutely, 100%.
That book should have been turned into an app so that everyone would be surprised. Everyone could be part of the decision making. Because I feel like if you're in charge of that book, because there isn't that space,
I'm not making decisions.
You knew. You're facilitating. Or you need another person playing that's not playing, who's just the narrator, the game master.
Yeah.
Again, I question that design decision. I get why they did it, probably because this was already way overdue, because they redesigned the game after it was kickstarted, which is a whole other thing. That book should have been an app. Forget managing combat. All you need to do was take the storybook and put it into an app and let us go. You don't even have to buy someone to narrate the app. Just put the text into an app.
Yup.
And you would have saved paper, a book this thick, and flipping and everything else. Just an app. The book should have been an app.
The player mats.
What do you want to say about them?
They frustrated me.
They were very thin.
Not just that, but the layout, right? I have a deck of cards. There was actually no space for that deck of cards. And the extra cards that I wasn't using, that I would level up for, they had, there was just, to me, it was not a well laid out player mat.
But I will say, it looks like Zombicide player mats, where it literally is the character, some of your tracking stuff, and they have those Etsy 3D printed player mats where you put the player mat in the middle, and then you have all the other space for all your gear and slots and everything you can put on there, because you need that space, because they'll say, here's your player mat, but you really need this much room for all your stuff.
And there's just not, there wasn't enough room on the table sometimes for all of the stuff.
Yes, and we have a 4-foot wide table. So with the boards in the middle, her players, my players, we literally probably needed to have the board in the middle, and then her characters on one side, my characters on one side, and then you're like, well, then the tokens are all the way at the end of the table and we can't get them.
Yeah. Yes.
So it is a table hog.
Yes.
And the player mats are thick paper or thin cardboard. You take your pick when you look at it. Heavily suggest maybe laminating them for stiffness.
Yes.
So yeah, they're very flimsy. Okay, final thoughts.
I really wanted to like the game. I want to like the game because it's a really cool concept. It's a cool idea. I love choose your own adventures. I just think that this could have been executed better.
I'm going to get flack for this. If you disagree with me, or if you agree with me, put in the comments. Please give me support for this. This is not a game. This, I will say it again, is not a game. It's an activity. It's a choose your own adventure activity. With the only variation, combat. And even in combat, I did not feel like we were going to die.
Usually not.
The only time we felt like we even came close, and I did actually die, was in our second game, I think. And it was this big boss monster showed up. And it had like 30 health or something like that. And I was like, I'm the fighter, I'll take the brunt of it, I'll take the brunt of it, I'll take the brunt of it. And my healer in that fight got no healing. All the healing cards came the fight before. So my healer was doing no healing.
Yep.
Incapable of healing. In the one fight we need healing. Those acts of randomness impede your fun.
Yep.
I should be able to do set things. My character should do set things. Period. I can't say that enough.
I agree.
It's still some of my fun of being a dwarf fighter. Or the healer. The app, man, with just 2 players, I'm making all the decisions, and I'm just like, you know what? Let's just go for that crazy thing. Like, do you eat the berries? No, I'm not going to eat some random food I saw. And she's like, good idea, because... And again, she's not trying to read ahead, but she saw, like, that's what happened. Good idea we didn't eat the berries. Then there was another time I was like, oh, it would have done nothing. So you can't even expect that it'll be bad or good every time. I mean, we had to go one place and we fell asleep. We were going to fall asleep because the moss was sleepy moss.
Yep.
And it's like, you're not even letting me counter it. Or do you have this one character? Well, you're telling me if I had the one character out of 6 that I didn't play with would have had a special sidetrack. Why don't you have 2 characters that have the ability to do it? Or have 5 characters in the box, not 6. And you're not going to play with 1. So if 2 characters could always trigger some type of side thing, but it's just... We could have probably just played this by reading the book and making your choices.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been a fun story. I think some of the things they're trying to do with the changing of the board, with the cards going the board, changing the events or locations on the board, having the one board where you're pulling it off for what you find at each place or special versions of the monsters was good. To use a small assortment of monsters, but using them like 5 different ways. Really good ingenuity. What do you want to add?
Side quests.
Yeah. And the side quests, we've played 4 or 5 games. And we've done some main quest, side quest. And it talked about side quests disappearing, but we never saw that trigger. So...
Yeah, we did. Didn't we?
No. None of them disappeared
I thought
yet.
the side quests we played disappeared.
No.
Okay.
Well, it did because we did it.
Right.
So, overall, this is an activity with minimum player choices.
And interaction.
Yeah. I mean, and one of them, again, it gets to that written book. This needed to be played. If I was designing something like this and writing this, it probably had to be played by at least 5 play groups 2 to 3 times fully through.
Yeah.
To make sure everything was in there. That ships were where you needed them.
Mm-hmm.
There was one mission we did where we had 3 locations to go. We went to the closest one and it's like, well, you don't have item 1, 2, or 3, so you can't do anything else here. Go away. Okay, but you didn't give me any hints. I went to location A. And you're telling me location A is not the first location. So we went to location 3, C. And we got something.
Mm-hmm.
But we were never able to take that something back to location A to see what we would get. Because by the time we got the item, we triggered end game.
I remember that. Yep.
I feel like I want to play that again, but I'm not interested enough to figure out what we missed. We got the mission done. Let's move on. Because an hour and a half
Yeah.
to get that result, I felt like every mission we played, it was missing something in the story. Like there should have been more. Finding some guy falling asleep, bringing the thing back to his kids, and them fighting over it. And which one did he say give it to? He didn't. He said give it to my son. Yeah, I got 2 sons. You choose who's worthy of the item.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this guy hates your guts now. The other one says, I owe you a favor. So you're the future king of the Dwarven people, but you got no army. And you took 4 people you didn't know, who you met when you were drunk in an inn, to help clean the hold. Oh, we only killed 8 things when we cleaned out his home. It just doesn't have enough.
And we only got 2 experience because it was a side quest.
Oh yeah, and there's no experience for side quest. You get let's. I killed more.
Yep.
And I said if we did the side quest, I hope they give us something really cool. Well, the really cool thing would have been the weapon. If you didn't give it to the brothers. If you were lie, cheat, steal for yourself, good, you got something. Otherwise, for all your efforts, here's 2 experience. No. Forget the 2 experience you want to give me. I should have had 4 because everything I had to kill.
Yep. You think we could have at least leveled up if we'd gotten the more experience?
I would say if Simon had taken another year before shipping this, knowing what this is what they sent, I would have been happier. I would have been willing to give 2 years. If you needed 2 years to make the app, make an app.
We don't say that often.
Make a app. Simon, make it an app. And I say this because I just got notification that they're finishing the last couple expansions now. They're still writing the adventure. You have time. Make an app. And play it more. We'll play it for you. We will play test it for you and tell you what you missed. Because someone didn't tell you you missed half of the stuff you needed, like boats. You gave me a boat token, but no boat. I'm sore. Because I waited for a game you promised was already ready. And it's not a game.
No, it's not a game.
The only game is how many tokens you want out of the bag. I mean, there was a game called Caesar that the Dice Tower would call it's bingo. This isn't even bingo. I only get 4 cards, 2 slots on each card,
Yep.
so I'm looking for 8 tokens. I had 4 corners. There we go.
There we go.
4 corners. All my cards are filled. Woohoo! Who can get 4 corners? That's your goal. 4 corners. Oh, and that's how. Oh, wait a minute.
What?
Attribute test. Attribute test.
That's never clear.
No, it's clear. 3 successes required. When you go look at the character stats, there's only 1 character. No, there's.
We had 0 character.
Wait a minute. I think there's 6 different tokens. 6 different colored elements, tokens. And the attribute test is you need to get 3 of a certain color. And I might be wrong, but if I'm correct, there's only 1 character each that can complete the attribute test.
Yep.
My dwarf had 3 fire. Well, let's see. We're pulling 7 tokens out of the bag out of like 12. Can I get all 3 of my fire tokens? Because you can't do it because you got 2 fire tokens in your bag, so that's an automatic failure. You got 1. You got 2. I got 3. I'm the only one trying the attribute test. We've played too many adventure games. I don't care how sucky your character is. Everyone should have a chance to pass it. Everyone. Not, did you pick the right character for this test? Is it in your group today? I didn't know we were going to need to test that one. Well, I guess we all take the bad thing. Some choice I had. Ooh, I had some player agency where I actually like, ooh, there's a tense moment. I might be able to do it. Never mind, I can't even pass because I don't got 3.
Yes.
And I think all the attribute tests we took, my 2 characters are the only ones that passed it.
Yep.
Because you didn't have any chance.
Nope.
But we didn't know what characters we might need. You know, when you make an adventure like this, if you're a DM and role-playing games, which I have an extensive role-playing background, everyone needs to be spotlighted. Which means you have to have variable ways of passing attribute tests. Another poor design decision. Lots of good ideas. Lots of cool features. It's still not a finished game. Trudvang Legends 2.0, calling it now, 2nd edition, if CMON can even sell enough copies.
Yeah.
Lots of potential in this box. Massive amounts of potential in this box. Probably our longest review ever.
I think so at this point. Because we so desperately wanted to enjoy it.
Go in, forewarned, if you watch this review. It's got potential. There are some people out there that think this is awesome. Best game ever. I've seen some reviews. There's the potential.
It has potential, yep.
It is not a good adventure game. It's an activity. So, my rating of this is no rating, because to me, it's not a game. What's your rating? Because you did call it a game.
Originally I did. I'd probably actually give it a 2 because of the book.
Out of 10?
Out of 10. That book was just horrendous for me.
Make an app. Please. Please, find an intern to type it in. They can do that for 8 hours a day, typing in the adventures. Let someone else program it. Thanks for checking this out. Trudvang Legends. If you made it, gold star for you. Have you experienced this? Tell us what you think in the comments.
We'd love to hear it.
Haven't? Tell us why you haven't. Why are you thinking about it? What did you think this was going to be? And if you want to defend this, please do. Tell me what we missed.
Yep.
Tell me how we played it wrong. Because we have 2 gameplays that we recorded.
Yes.
They're on the channel.
They're on the channel.
Tell us if we got something wrong. Maybe we totally missed something. Maybe there's a page missing from our rule book. Because you know what? I didn't actually count all the pages. Make sure it said page 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to like 50. I know it's not 50 pages. Being sarcastic here. But it's like a 30-page rule book.
Yeah.
So anyway. Take care. Thanks for watching.
Take care.